according to Henry Robbins, nobody's ever done it.
Yeah, I would think not.
That's over such a long period or that's been involved.
Well, Chuck, first of all, welcome back to Dallas-Fort Worth. It's very nice to have you here.
Thank you. Lovely to borrow your microphone again.
Chuck, you're doing a lot of looking back these days. You have the retrospective coming up today and tomorrow, and of course your book, The Actor's Life. What kinds of feelings do you have about looking back over those 20 years?
Well, I suppose the best comment on that was made by Satchel Paige when he said, never look back, something might be gaining on you. But naturally, a retrospective is always a very pleasant kind of ego massage, and the Dallas Film Festival is making me feel very good this week here in Dallas. As for the book, that's a new experience for me. I'm very much involved on an ego level on the book's success, more than I am with a play or a film, really, because you do a play or a film, and you do the best you can and hope it will succeed, of course. But if it doesn't, you're going to do another play, another film. Your career goes on. But this will be the only book I'll ever write. So I care very much that it succeeds, and I'm delighted. Actually, Dallas is my second stop. In Houston, I'm happy to say we sold out both the bookstores. And I'm going right as soon as I finish here over to Dillard's in Fort Worth and sign. That's a new experience for me, too, of course. In every other way, a tour for a book is just like a tour for a film. But the difference, and it's an important one, is the time you spend in the stores actually meeting the people face to face and signing the books. A film actor, you don't get to meet many of your public on a one-on-one basis. You may go to a premiere and speak from the stage and sign autographs going out and getting in the car. But you have a chance, however brief, with a book, to go in the stores where they're selling them, and there are people buying them, and they say, would you sign your name, Mr. Heston? I've read it, a little of it already, and I like this part or I like that part. It's very rewarding.
Chuck, if I could, I'd like to play a little word association with you here for a couple of minutes. And as I say what I say, just if you could, name the first film that comes to mind. For instance, if I say to you, your most successful film.
It would have to be Ben-Hur. I think Earthquake may have grossed more money, but in terms of the comparable ticket prices, which is something people forget when they talk about what was the most successful film of a given year. When Ben-Hur was out, why, the ticket prices were much lower, and more people saw Ben-Hur, possibly even Ten Commandments.
Your most disappointing film?
I guess my most disappointing to me was Antony and Cleopatra. Not so much because it wasn't made as well as I wanted to, although every picture, that's true, but because I never, so far, have been able to get an American release for it.
The film you consider your best work?
Possibly Antony and Cleopatra. If not that, maybe Khartoum or Will Penny.
The critic's favorite?
Maybe Khartoum or Will Penny.
And the audience favorite?
Ten Commandments and Ben-Hur, I think. Or El Cid, maybe.
The film you would most like to do over again, if you could?
Every one of them. Every one of them.
Oh, come on, really?
No, really, absolutely. I could do every one better. And I'd love to try.
the most enjoyable one to make?
Films, by and large, aren't enjoyable to make. People say, oh, it must be fun doing this. When you're doing something for your life, and when you're setting standards for yourself that you fail to meet every day, and if you don't set standards like that, you're not doing your work properly, then you don't come home saying, boy, that was fun today. Sometimes you come home and say, well, I got 85% of what I should have. But in the first place, the work is very hard. The days are very long. You're doing work you wouldn't trade for any other. But people always imagine it's fun. I don't find it fun. I do it for my life. That's like saying, isn't breathing fun?
The most difficult film to make, then?
I would say maybe Ben-Hur, if only because it went on so long, and I worked every day of the 10 months we worked on the film, including many Sundays. And Willie Wyler's standards are enormously difficult to meet.
The favorite actor you've worked with?
Oh, that's easy. Laurence Olivier, the best actor alive, no question.
And do you have a favorite actress you've worked with?
Yeah, but if I tell you I make one friend and 17 enemies.
Somehow I had a feeling you were going to hedge on that one.
I wasn't born yesterday.
Chuck, if you could keep only a print of one film for yourself, which one would it be?
Very hard to say. Maybe Antony and Cleopatra, because I had such a deep investment of myself in it, and it's the only film I directed as well, of course.
Chuck, so many people say to me nowadays, and people with fairly decent jobs, they say, we don't go to the movies anymore, we just can't afford it. By the time we go and we get the popcorn and the drink and the babysitter, it's just more money than we can afford for entertainment. Now, we have a film out currently, The Wiz, $40 million, they're saying it cost to make that film. First of all, let me ask you, do you see any justification for a film costing $40 million?
Well, I haven't seen The Wiz, so I don't know if it's worth $40 million. Obviously, the people that made it felt they had to spend that much to get what they got. The only other film that ever made that cost that much was Cleopatra, and that was disappointing. But Universal obviously feels differently. I can't tell you what I think of it till I see it, if I do.
But do you think in general that films cost too much to make?
Well, the cost of making films, like the cost of buying bacon, has gone up. It's very difficult to make any kind of a story except a simple modern story. Pardon me. That costs less than a couple of $1 million. You know, it isn't actually the salaries of the actors and directors and writers, by and large, haven't gone up. But the cost of keeping the trucks maintained and the typewriters serviced and the raw stock for the film and buying everybody's lunch on location and putting them up for the night on location, all that's gone up.
Chuck, I know that throughout the book you make frequent references to tennis. I know you love the game. Had you not been an actor and you'd been as interested in tennis, had become acquainted with it young in life, do you think that there's any chance you could have been a pro tennis player?
No, I'm afraid not. You need more than the early start at the game. I didn't have that, but you also need a natural gift for a forehand volley. It's no, my tennis ambitions are modest, and I hope more realistic than some of my colleagues. It's a marvelous game, though. It's a game you can enjoy at any level of skill.
If you could have a composite of players to put a game together, like somebody's forehand and somebody's volley, et cetera, who would you borrow from to make that perfect player for you?
Well, I guess maybe Newcomb's serve or Tanner's serve and Borg's quickness and endurance and Laver's shot making and Kenny Rosewall's overall strokes.
Would be some kind of player.
Some kind of player, wouldn't it?
Chuck, thank you very much for taking this time to talk with us today. It's very nice seeing you again, and we hope you have at least another 20 years as a big actor.
Well, thank you, Bobbie. Coming to Dallas wouldn't be complete without borrowing your microphone.
Now, one last thing. Did you include a bit on the number one career in New Orleans?
Oh, sure.
The fire? That's my image.
You were in the same hotel.
Yes, and here you came with, I shall always remember that. Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Chuck, I think most people think that actors really have it made, that making films is fun and games, but reading your book, you really put in some hard days' work. What are some days you perhaps remember but might like to forget?
Am I bothering?
You can just keep it running if you want to. Okay. Chuck, I know that in the past you've always said that when you talk to student groups that you generally try to discourage drama students. Are you still doing that? There are three themes that keep recurring in your book, and that is, of course, your work and your family and tennis. To talk about family a minute, why is it that some actors seem not to be able to have any kind of family relationship? Tennis, of course, is a big love of yours, Chuck. Besides giving you exercise and I assume a great deal of fun, what else does tennis do for you as an actor? Okay, now then, Chuck, if we could for a minute just play a little word association game. I will say something, and then if you will give me the first film title that comes to your mind. For instance, most successful picture. Most disappointing. The favorite of the critics. The audience favorite Charlton Heston picture. The one you consider your best work. The most enjoyable to make. The most difficult. Your favorite actress. Your favorite actor to work with. The one you would most like to keep if you could keep only one. The movie you'd most like to do over again. Okay, now one more question, then we'll stop. Chuck, a lot of people tell me that they don't go to the movies very much anymore simply because they can't afford it. It's too expensive by the time you get the tickets and the popcorn and the drink and the babysitter and the whole thing. It's just too expensive to go to the movies. A case in point, The Wiz, they tell us, costs $40 million to make. Now, do you think costs like that are justified? As an actor, are you concerned about the high cost of movie again? As an actor, are you concerned about the high cost of movie making?